An unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. To see and listen to, remember and accept. I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's teachings. Teachings and practice, it is offered on the basis of Dana Paramita. Dana being a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, which is done without the expectation of anything in return when the opportunity arises. And those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a Dana basis. So please support their practice by giving what you can. So if you go to Great Tree's website, there's a donate page and you can make a note that it's for Genjo. Genjo also has a little bucket next to the stairs that's for his Dana as well. Speaking of, our speaker today is Reverend Trey Genjo Williams, who is a student of Reverend Teijo Munnich in the Jikai Dainin Katagiri Roshi lineage of Zen Buddhism. He recently practiced at Kotaiji, a training monastery in Nagasaki, Japan, and Toshoji, a training monastery in Yakage, Japan, where he spent 9 months. He currently lives in Asheville and continues his practice with the Zen Center of Asheville and Great Tree Zen Women's Temple.
Yeah. Good morning. Got my emotional support animal here with Kiku. Believe it or not, those of you who know Kiku. Here. Yeah, as Quinn mentioned, the title today, the theme that I will try to stick to, is Dharma combat. In Japanese, the word is Hosen Shiki. Ho, it's a pretty direct translation. Ho is Dharma, Sen is combat, Shiki is ceremony. It's Dharma combat ceremony. And the reason I'm talking about it is I think many of you probably know we've got a ceremony coming up in a few weeks, the mountain seat ceremony, Shinzan Shiki. And it's really a sequence of ceremonies. The mountain seat ceremony being a part of that, and I'm not so familiar with it, so I'm going to do my best to speak to it. When I was training at the monastery to participate as a question asker for four different Dharma combat ceremonies. And so I'm more familiar, I mean, a little more familiar with that. There's many different roles, you know, many different angles. And everything and everyone plays a part in creating the ceremony. Even if ceremony, it's really a sangha event, a community event, a ritual. And when I first heard, I hadn't heard of this particular ceremony, Dharma combat. Before I went to Japan, and when I first heard about it, the head nun at the time, Toshoji activist, Teishin-san, she was a nun from Australia. She was the head nun in this case. It was the head nun. She was preparing for her Dharma combat, and she asked me to be one of the question askers. Interesting to me, Dharma and combat seemed an interesting combination for me to go together. and still is. And I'm still just sitting with that, and like this whole practice of life, still just in the midst of it, and doing my best to um, try to understand what it's all about and do my best to speak to that. Um, and so yeah, this Dharma combat is interesting. I'll do my best to kind of share what I can about it, and then open it up for others to share and ask questions. Um, so yes, as part of the mountain sea ceremony, as part of the mountain sea ceremony, um, and the day before the mountain suit ceremony, there's a formal tea in which a case is presented, and cases come from these collections of koans. Um, this is kind of the basis in a way. Think of the Dharma combat, and it all centers around this. So it's a series of the Shuso, the head monk or nun, is in that position, and as kind of a culmination of their time, uh maybe challenge, I don't know if that's the right word, but that's the word. Okay, that's the word. I'm getting confirmation, that's the word. Yeah, to challenge the Shuso's um practice in a way, their grasping of the practice. And so in the formal tea the night before the case is presented, and I've been uh, we've been reading here this book called the Gyoji Kihan, which is a book laid out by the Soto Zen outlines of these various rituals. And for the formal tea, the abbess at one point, and there's different, it's not there's different wordings that can be used, but in the Gyoji Kihan, the abbess at one point says, "Tomorrow I shall yield the Dharma seat to the head seat." So essentially saying that tomorrow during the Dharma combat ceremony, I'm kind of empowering the Shuso to um, to sit in like the teacher's seat for that particular ceremony, and and then everyone comes and challenges with their questions. And so please, if you're coming to the event in person, please um, engage in that and ask a question. And what I've seen in Japan is that these are scripted out. And so, well, like when I was the question asker, um, I had learned a script about 5 or 6 exchanges between the shuso and the question asker. And it starts with the the shuso intones holding the shipe, which was kind of this. It's described as different things: uh, a poisonous snake, a golden lotus flower. Um, Traditionally, it's a bow without the string, and it's kind of the teaching staff. You intone something, and then you invite the Benji, who in our case is Drew, who's been practicing at Great Tree for a long time since he was very young. Um, we'll start with the question, and you come in with your full. The word that's been coming into mind, the Japanese word is Zen Ryoku, which is full power. I think another word is wholehearted. You sincerity. You're giving your everything to this one moment. So you come in, you Shuso, and you're asking the Shuso this question. Kiku's not gonna be here for the ceremony. She's gonna be staying with my mom. It's gonna be too much. We're not gonna do that to you, Kiku. My dog is here. She just got startled. If folks on Zoom. Um, and you're meeting each other, right? You're meeting each other. And so yeah, there's a challenging aspect to it, I think. Yeah, there's a challenging aspect to it. Um, um, and I think but that meeting, it feels important, and maybe this is incorrect, so feel free to challenge this, but it's not so much about I'm gonna dominate you or you're gonna dominate me. I'm gonna defeat you. Not so much about winning and losing, but can being confounded in the midst of not knowing what to say, in the midst of hopelessness, in the midst of complete confusion, in the midst of nervousness. I'm just naming off things that I feel regularly, and not run away, um, and not um, maybe even dominate, I think, which can be a form of running away. But can we just, like our gosh show, can we just meet each other in the Dharma? Um, so that's Dharma combat. That's part of the mountain seat ceremony. So like I said, please come with a question. Invite, if you know folks who are coming, encourage them to ask a question. Um, and um, I'll sit in my seat, and you'll sit in your seat, and we'll be here together in this practice. Um, so the case in our case is called Japanese. It's called Shinjin, and I'm grateful for our abbess, Teijo Anju-san, for she gave me the freedom to choose the case. My experience in Japan was that the case is given. At least that's how it was done at Toshoji, and and it's a long script. I mean, like I said, in Japan, it's oftentimes scripted, and so it's a lot to remember. It's a lot to remember. And you're there, you're nervous, and you got all these people in the room with you. Um, Even as a question asker, I felt nervous, and I just had one portion, and nobody really was worried about me. The attention was on the shuso, and oftentimes there are maybe 7 to 15 question askers, challengers. It's a lot to remember. And in the case of the last Dharma combat Hosen Shikai participated in, the head nun was an Argentinian nun, and kind of the last minute, she had been given one case by the abbot and was asked to remember it, and then kind of last minute he switched it up on her and gave her another case, and so she had to forget, let go of what she had been remembering, and start to work on this new case. And it works on you. It's I'm saying, like, you remember and you memorize as a script, but it's more than that. You work on it and it works on you. And the case that she was asked to switch to, was the Shinjin Datsuraku, and it had a really really big impact on me. Um, at one point, she's saying, and it was in Japanese, some in Spanish, some in English, some in Chinese. Actually, this one in particular, he read opening poem. So there was, yeah, there was a lot. A lot to remember, keep up with. But at one point she said, "Datsuraku Shinjin," and really, like, snapped something in me, like, you know, mind and body drop. And there's something about that moment and the way she said it, and having looked at the case, and we were training for weeks. Every night after dinner, we would all meet up in the ceremony hall and practice this together. The name, but Argentinian traditional music. It's not bossa nova. No, that's Brazil. I'm blanking. Um, but she was a singer, and she had this beautiful voice that just projected and filled the whole room. And that yeah, and she really brought that to it. And I don't have that voice. So there's another thing I'm sitting with. And I just sit here and do what I can. And so I was really grateful to have the freedom to choose the case and chose this Shinjin Datsuraku case, dropping off body and mind. And it turns out the translation we're using was translated by a teacher, an American-born teacher who's in Japan at a monastery called Kotaiji, Reiho, who translated this, and it's based off. It was written by Eko Hashimoto Roshi, who he wasn't Katagiri Roshi's main teacher, but he was a really important figure in Katagiri Roshi's practice and life, and really understandings that he really revered this teacher, Katagiri Roshi did. And so that feels significant too, as Katagiri Roshi is our ancestor. We practice in his lineage, and it's here in the room with us and live with us. So the way we're going to do it, and the way I think it's mostly done in the West, is more of a freestyle. Anybody, but certain parts that are read from this script. Time check. So that's and this Shinjin Datsuraku, it comes from Dogen Zenji's Eihei Koroku, Volume 9, which is a collection of koans that he gathered from different, excuse me, from different Zen teachers over the years. And this one is interesting too, because it comes directly from Dogen's, and my understanding is that it comes directly from Tendo Nyojo's. That's really his using Shinjin. Excuse me. And so that's the Dharma combat. We sit and we engage and we meet, and I haven't been in that position as Shuso. I'm in it now, being it for the first time. And last time in this Bible, and serve as Shuso in a Dharma combat once. And so hopefully I'll make it to the other side of that. We'll see. And then the staff will be returned to the teacher, to the abbess. And again, in Gyojiki, as you set phrases, it says one way to say it, just to give you kind of an idea of the essence of it, of the energy behind it, is passing the staff, returning the staff to the teacher. One thing you could say is, as water flows into the sea, I return this to the source. That's a really special day right now, is that it's Great Trees and Women's Temple's first ever mountain seat ceremony. And I like to dream in my head that over the years and the decades and the centuries, this shipe, this teaching staff, will be continued to be passed on and held and continue to flow return to the source and flow and ebb and flow. That's one reason why Reverend Chimyo really pushed us to do this ceremony, because like if you listen to Ejo's talk in class last week or the week before, um, but it's establishing this. It's kind of, I don't know how to put it, but rooting. It's almost like, you know, establishing the mountain seat, so that others gather and sit in the seat or gather around the seat, engage, however practice, not really seeing being here in the Shuso seat. Of course, there's responsibility that is too big. I've just been reflecting on everything. So I'm not away from it. Yes, it means something to be here in this seat. Make up my life, our lives. And so I think the invitation with the Dharma combat and with every moment is to meet the conditions of our lives and meet each other. Sorry. Um, yeah, now doing my best to do. um, and um, yeah, that I think that's enough too. I mean, I think that's reflecting again on this this Ango. We just had this training period, and one of the things that we sat with is mindful politics, and we read this book, had discussions, and um, you know, can we just sit in the midst of the chaos, midst um, of everything that we're confronted with in our lives, the suffering, the heartbreak, both out there and in here, right? Because it's one and the same. Can we just sit with it and not and let go of that karmic conditioning as best as we can, and meet the moment beyond our stuff, beyond our stuff, so that we're not creating more stuff for other people and for ourselves, which I'm, it's one thing, So I was thinking too, like being in a monastery and every moment, I don't mean to set up this dichotomy between monastery or temple life and not, but it almost like wipes you clean out of the monastery and sitting zazen too. It's like you let go of everything, of all your karmic conditioning, and then you get up and you create your life again and again. And so you can see how, oh, all these complications in my life are really, I'm creating these, co-creating them perhaps, but certainly playing my part. Um, and yet, can I sit in that anyway? And and meet you all and your questions, even when I don't have an answer, or I don't know what to say, or I'm afraid and I'm looking silly and foolish and at a loss for words. Just sit and meet with everything I can, everything I can. Gentle and firm. I've picked up it recently, have picked it back up again. And so that's kind of in my consciousness these days. And this constant balance of yes, soft and receptive and yet solid, not out here, not back here, but right here in the seat, sitting zazen, like we do, lean this way, lean that way, and come to a place of stillness in the midst of movement. And I think that's what happens in the ceremony too. There's all these moving parts. People have roles to play. You all are going to have roles to play. Part. And there's a lot of movements, and in the midst of that, it's like the eye of the hurricane. There's a stillness there that holds it all together, holds us all together, holds this life together. And so I didn't mean to like go off to like I don't even know where I went in combat, and we do this so that people would have a sense of the forms. And obviously, I didn't really do that very, very well. But I'm gonna stop talking now, and hopefully you all have questions, and we can have some discussion, and hopefully Reverend Chimio and Reverend Teijo will share, because they have a lot of experience with these ceremonies. So start off. Come on, come with your questions. This is a mock Dharma combat. Don't be shy. You need the shipping. I almost brought it. No, doing too much.
Scary dog.
Yeah.
Well, Genjo, I have several questions, but I'll just ask the first one, which is like, is there supposed to be any connection between the questions asked in Dharma combat and the case that you're studying?
I think so.
So to form our questions, it might be good for us to look at dropping off mind and body, and ask you, like, are we supposed to try to stump you?
I don't really know.
Testing. Okay. You're supposed to ask questions.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. I don't really know. Yeah, like in Japan, it's more scripted, and so it's all around this case. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're still formulating what this practice is in the West, which that's also why this is really, I think, a meaningful, important ceremony, because we're in this process of forming, figuring in the West as Zen practitioners. So I don't have a clear response to that, but I think it's a question, and let it come from you, come from your practice. Jodo?
Hi. Reverend Genjo, I ask this question. If Zazen is the totality of our practice, why study writings at all?
We don't rely on reading sutras. You'll hear me say that during the Dharma combat. That's part of the opening poem.
Thank you for your answer.
I have more questions, Melissa. That'll be my last question. I know that asking questions is also part of like Teijo's part of the ceremony. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the distinctions between the character of the questions that are asked in each thing.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. And Teijo is the abbess. She is great tree, you know. She's been doing this practice longer. It's not, you know, I think the energy behind it is not, I'm challenging this so as a means of development, right? Because this rite of passage, it's like I'm helping you. And my question is the things you're going to be faced with as you sit in this seat. I'm helping you develop. When you ask the question to Anju's son, abbess, you'll go up in the main altar. And so it's a different dynamic. It's a different kind of relationship. And so
She's like she's up on the Shindan, but when you're doing your Dharma combat, we are on the same level.
We're like this.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be like this. And so you'll approach the Shumidan and ask your question and receive your answer. And then yeah, as you're walking back, you big voice, thank you for your answer, or in Japanese, Kichijo, Kichijo, Dai Kichijo. Yeah, if you can, try to remember Japanese. I think there's a certain, you know, if you, I don't know, for me, in my experience, there's a certain quality to speaking Japanese that really invites. It's different, I think. Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Which is my question.
Yes.
You have a great voice. A very resonant voice. It's very powerful and soft at the same time.
Thank you for your comment. It was in the monastery, there's a practice called baika, which is kind of Zen singing. And we were forced to do a baika test. It's Japan, there's levels to it, everything's and so for about 3 weeks, maybe a month, all our energy was on practicing for our baika exam. And so we wouldn't even really do sambu, we wouldn't do work, we would meet and practice baika. And I had so much insecurity, and still do, and so much fear, and just a lot wrapped up in speaking in public, and especially singing in front of people. And it was such good practice. I came to really love that period at Toshoji, and we would all sing, and the teacher would come and he'd sit right in front of you, like almost nose to nose. It felt like knee to knee and seiza, and you'd sing your part and he would give you feedback. And it was great to just meet, you know, in the midst of inadequacy, insecurity, fear. Much the singing, and we were most of us were practicing for our first level, and so we were all practicing. Many of us were practicing the same song, and so it was just so in our heads at the time, in our bodies, that you just kind of find would start singing, and then somebody else would pick it up and we would all start singing, or in the bathhouse, the same thing. Someone would be practicing, and then somebody would be changing and start singing, which we weren't supposed to do. These were silent places, the dorm and the bathhouse, but we got by. We never got scolded for that. Um, so anyway, thank you for your comment.
So Japan is very choreographed.
Mhm.
And in the midst of the actual ceremony, did anything arise that you didn't that
Um, the energy itself, if I can kind of remember, um, how it was said in those particular circumstances. We make mistakes. Sometimes somebody's voice would go out, or you would forget a line. You know, uh, just sit with that. The last during the night, I was the Doan, and so I was at the big bell. I was standing and sitting there to sound the bell at specific times. And it was a job for this particular don't want much. Um, and because I guess you don't do too much when you do it, at the source, prostrations are made, and the teachers, the higher teachers, are invited to send their congratulations to the students. So Dawn doesn't do anything until the head teacher says their remarks, and then the Dawn right after that does a gatsu. So I'm sitting here, standing at the bell, and the Docho Roshi is there and diagonal to each other. And the high-ranking teachers, the Seido Roshi, Godo Roshi, two other teachers were sharing their remarks. One of the teachers had, I think, dozed off a little bit. And it was his turn to make a remark. And so we're all waiting. And I'm like, ready. And the abbot's sitting there. And from my point of view, he's looking at me saying, just eyes, just eyes. Go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do the thing. Even though I'm saying, I know I don't do it until you say your stuff. But if you're giving me these eyes, I'm going to do it. And so I did it. Guts. Just, in the midst of dead silence, just boom, guts. And as soon as I did it, I realized my delusion. He wasn't looking at me. He was not concerned with me at all. He was not telling me to gatsu. And everybody looked at me, and you can just feel the piercingness of it all. And that was my Dharma seat. That was my practice, to stand there and receive those eye blades from everybody and breathe. And then Roshi said his remarks, and I got to it again at the correct time. So that emerged. And at the end, everybody came to me, "Oh, Genjo-san, I can't believe you did that." And then we sat and had our celebratory noodles together, and so it goes. I woke up everybody. I woke up the people in the Kaisando back there. I woke up the ancestors. Yes, he woke up. And I woke up. All about me. Yeah, the abbot's looking at me, talking to me. No. No.
That's why you go from monastery. Those eye blades. They shave your skin off.
Yes. Never do it again. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna sit there in my discomfort and let him sleep. For as long as he needs to sleep, because clearly he needed some rest. And I woke him up.
Saw you when you were talking about the difference in the Japanese and the West, and you were talking the way of their energy.
Mhm.
I saw your head
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
And do you think that's the significance that the East puts on that? Do you feel that that's what differentiates it largely, perhaps?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking like in India, it's the prana life force. In China, it became chi. In Japan, ki. What is it here? We call it maybe life force or energy, but it's one of those words that we don't have a really solid translations for. So we say ki or we say chi, and we kind of know what we're talking about. Yeah, it feels important, I think, as a part of the practice. I mean, we sit with our cosmic mudra here at our dantian, our sea of chi. Um, in Aikido on the mat, they're always telling me, no, move from your chi, move from your center, from your ki. Um, sitting here on the seat at Great Tree with Teijo-san and Chimyo-san, we sit and the energy, yeah, settles somewhere. So it feels important as something to cultivate or be aware of, I think.
Would you like to practice at all?
Oh, I've been practicing. And I would like to practice more. Practice what exactly?
Questions of this case, other cases that made you go,
Yeah. We were having a big discussion yesterday, the three of us, about how to invite people to the Dharma combat ceremony. Do we invite particular people and give them a number, you, then you, then you? Because another piece, the way it's done in Japan that I've experienced is you start your question with shuso, you're grabbing their attention. You ask your question, the shuso answers. And then when you're satisfied, you can ask a follow-up question. You say, Chincho. Now, the way it was described to me by that Toshoji is that you're saying, okay, Chincho, and the shuso responds, Banzai! And you the shipe, and immediately, kind of at the same time, that bombs for the shuso. So it's a continuous flow of energy. So, um, I guess folks, you and you is we're keeping that energy going rather than letting send the email out to folks inviting them is kind of tell them that form and maybe even attach this case so that they can see where it comes from and they can see the whole script. Because there is a script, I think there are 9 or 10.
Maybe even also including the clip from Kotoku's ceremony.
It's a great idea. I was searching up. I was watching. I think it was Koan-san's up on YouTube, and our Reverend Chibyo was the shoki. It's on YouTube. If you just search into YouTube, Hosenshiki, Hossenshiki. There are quite a few on there. So we can Kotoku's is on there, Koan-san's. There's one from Toshoji on there if you wanted to see a Japanese style scripted one. from 2020. And I would encourage you to do that to continue to get a sense of the ceremony. But whenever y'all want to practice through our Benji, is coming Tuesday morning, and we're gonna go out to the. If you're available, I invite you all. We can Zenroku. We can wholeheartedly practice. That's one thing that I was when we were practicing at Toshoji too. You know, we would kind of try to save our voices, or we felt self-conscious, and so when we were practicing, we wouldn't give it everything, and we were told, no, do it the real way, so that when the time comes, it's already there. And this is the same for our practice of Zazen. I think we sit wholeheartedly so that we can show up to our life wholeheartedly when things, you know, or that it's difficult to show up to. Can we meet them?
Hearing about all of your anticipation about the ceremony just makes me wonder, like, what you're gonna feel like on the other side of it. And I wonder if Kimi-san or Teijo-san is like, I don't know, have y'all both been Shuso, and what's that?
Yeah.
What do you feel?
It's a requirement. It's a Shuso. It's a requirement that Shuso. Yeah.
Wow. Mine was at our monastery in Minnesota. And I kind of followed the Tassajara to where I practiced upon that. And just like, and, I was terrified. But you know, it went better than I expected. I mean, these were my friends. So.
Yeah.
So, but I had also seen it in Japan about 3 or 4 times. And the way they did it in Hoshinji was a Shuso could ask 3 people to ask questions, and you could do a follow-up. And I don't remember that we had to stick with the case, but maybe we did. But it was very loose, and I think you experienced it differently, right?
Yeah, mine was totally scripted. Mine was in Japan at teeny tiny little temple called Munnich that was so teeny tiny they could take walls off because it was so hot. They actually took the walls off the temple so people can and mine was scripted. Mine was Bodhidharma's Intimates, which I understand. And out of courtesy to me, but it was done by in English by young men who did not speak English. And so it was very difficult to understand. And so there was a lot of trying to, I guess, memorize, but also counting. I was on 1, I was on 2. I'm trying to remember my response. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And we sitting there and screaming with a lot of young Japanese men. Yeah. About 2 years. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And a lot of down. Very hot. And we talk about there being a combat. I walked through that temple with all the movements that we had to do. Just chorus. And everyone she probably told me that I remember it from the beginning. It's icy. So yeah, so it was a little combat, but coming out the other side, it's very joyful. It
Mm.
was a party. I came out the other side, we took this big photograph, and it was just, and I had a whole bunch of new brothers and sisters. I have, you know, people that I knew and people that I didn't know. Nambara Sensei, Yokohama, Sensei. Everybody there, you know, two teachers that, that, come in and out of that was, and it was foundational. I don't know how it's supposed to be, and really got.
Mm.
I did a whole, they call it what do they call it? I did a whole series of classes with folks, $20 and folks, and still don't feel like anyone else does, and I still don't know, but it stayed with me, Shinjin Dakarats.
Mm.
It'll stay and it sticks, and that experience from me stuff. Oh, really wait a minute. Full hope when we do it, kid.
It's really fun to scream with Japanese men. They can really, they really draw it out. They can, yeah.
So deep. So deep.
Oh, yeah, that's where the music is. I, you didn't mention much about Datsuraku Shinji.
Mm.
Can you say a little more about that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this Shinjin Datsuraku, dropping off body and mind. Datsuraku Shinjin, body and mind dropped off. What I can say is it's like when we sit zazen, I say we sit zazen, but that's not really what happens. It's zazen happens. I think it's maybe Uchiyama Roshi zazen does zazen. Soaki Kodo Roshi, yes. Our grammar and our language requires us to insert these things to make it make sense. And verbs, but and the same with dropping off body and mind. There's when I say that it's as if I'm doing something. There's as if I'm dropping it off, and that's not it. It's already dropped off. As soon as I come into the equation, it's back, and then it drops off because it's emptiness. It's empty. And so it's like the relative and the ultimate coming together, Shinjin Datsuraku Datsuraku Shinjin. And we need both. We say both. But to insert ourselves into the equation is already doing too much. So we just sit and body and mind drop off in and of themselves. When we can, when it happens, when it happens, I've been thinking about it, like, of course that's how it happens, because if it wasn't, all of us would already be free and enlightened. It's like, oh yeah, I want to be enlightened. Boom. But there's effort there because there's some that happens. That's what I could say. $11:01.
I would love some resources, like, you know, the Shinjin Datsuraku and the videos and the script type of stuff. That would be awesome
To send to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I definitely want to ask a question.
I think it would be good to send it out with a letter, because we're
Sure.
telling about asking a question.
Yeah, maybe I can make a newsletter for it.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so there's an intro to Zen tomorrow, which is on Zoom only. On Tuesday, the 19th, the Zen Center of Asheville is having their Zazen and Dharma talk, and Genjo will be speaking there as well. So if you want to catch more of Genjo speaking. Next Saturday, Teijo will be speaking. And the title of her talk is Raising Incense for Buddhas and Ancestors, Founder, Community, and lots of there.
Wow.
Um,
Got that from.
And,
It is a work day tomorrow too.
yes, I was about to remind people. So every Sunday until the ceremony, which is only
Three.
three.
Yeah, don't do that to us.
Okay, sorry. So we have a few left, but Sunday service, so we'll sit zazen together and then have a work period and then lunch if people are staying. But that's every Sunday until the ceremony. So please email me if you plan on coming. info@Great Tree Temple.
Yeah, we'd like to know you're coming. but You can just come if you forget to email to. Right? It's nice to know you're coming.
Yes.
Just come.
Thank you, everyone.